Jack, who spoke earlier. So I'm just here to talk about how I got into the career. Loved math from the very beginning. Shied away from the English stuff, but now that I'm out in the business world, I wish I spent a little more time on some of the English and that side of the thing. So I did go to an engineering school for college, so I spent a lot of time working with engineers, WPI.
I sent a lot of students there.
Yeah?
Or a few.
Yeah.
Some years a bunch, some years.
Yeah. I didn't actually know what an actuary was until I was about a junior, so it was many years ago when there wasn't that awareness. It's still not that well-known a career, but I think it's come a long way from when I got out of college. And I knew I wanted to be in math, and after spending a couple years with the engineers, I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to be kind of the back room, kind of doing the math problems while they were out kind of doing more out in the real world, as I put it. So decided this was a good way to kind of get a job, first of all, right out of college. That was one of my major motivations.
That or teaching, right?
I thought about being a teacher. I really did, and I think I would have enjoyed that had I done it. But my dad was an accountant, and he's like, oh, kind of pushed me into it from an early age. Knew that I liked math, and kind of laid it out there.
What sort of mathematics would you say that's used mostly by an actuary?
I would say it's less of the theoretical and more of kind of the practical, like a statistics background and economics background. It doesn't even have to be purely math.
Right.
Economics, statistics, problem solving, probability, and as you take the actuarial exam, so you have your basic calculus, you have your province stats, some advanced math classes, but those aren't as relevant as I got out working. And then, linear algebra and those kind of things were fine for the first exams, and then the exams switched to more insurance, kind of problem solving. A lot of what we do is about risk management. It's like trying to assess risks, and that's a big topic now with the economy and everything. So we spend a lot of time looking at external forces, a lot around data manipulation, so like a strong technical background is really important. I think that's kind of the foundation of being an actuary, taking kind of the business problems and then, a technical understanding of how data fits together, patterns, and things like that have been helpful. So I think having good kind of study skills and memorization when you're taking the actuarial exams was really helpful. I digest a lot of material and spit it back in these exams. So that was helpful as you went further along in them. And what I do now is actually similar to Jack, and I don't think this is very common with actuaries, but I don't spend a lot of time on kind of the practical day-to-day problems. When I first started, you had to do a lot on your own, on paper and a calculator, and now with computers, it's a lot of it is like there for you. Someone else has developed a program, and you have to understand the basics of it, but you end up spending more time on kind of the business implications of it, and really what are the other factors beyond the numbers that are impacting the results. So that's what we spend a lot of time on.
So what would be a typical day? That would be Amy's question, but I'll
Sure. Typical day, I manage a staff of about 50 people, so I spend a lot of my day vetting out and trying to ask a lot of probing questions to my staff. So a typical day for them would be I would give them a business case. We need to set new assumptions for disability insurance claims experience, and they'd have to develop a project plan on how they want to, what data are they going to use, what kind of technical system are they going to use to find all the interactions, what are the most important variables that go into whether you're going to have a disability claim or not, what are external and business process things that could impact that, so they have to kind of lay out a plan on how they're going to do that. And they'll present the results to me, and I would be asking them questions like, did you consider this? I know this process happens. Is that what's impacting the data, or is it something else? So it's more about problem solving and trying to get at the heart of the issue. And so I spend a lot of my day in meetings at this point.
So how would you have started when you first got there?
When I first got there, you need, we use a lot of statistical, like SAS is a is a programming language that we use. A lot of data manipulation, looking at trends, statistical analysis. Statistics was important. There's life contingencies, which shows how you take all kinds of data and find the interactions in it. So you spend a lot of time on the computer, I would say. But I think more and more we're looking for people that can be out in the other parts of the business, like the claim organization or the underwriting organization that can work with them and kind of use their math skills. A lot of times we get lent out to do like cost-benefit analysis, which can be, someone will say, I want to do this project and I think it's going to be really great, and you're like, okay, we got to lay this down into, okay, what's going to improve because of this? How much are you going to spend? So some just basic math. I think when you're in a company as an actuary, you tend to take on a financial role as well. I also spend time preparing for earnings releases, and we do get involved in the financial ends of the business, making sure the company's solvent, and answering investor questions is another part of what I do. Trying to explain why our results are this way or that way. Every day is very different, and I think when you're an actuarial student, you tend to get a project, and that you work on that project, and you may have a couple of reports you have to put out, but it's a foundation of learning the insurance business, refining your technical skills, especially around data management and calculating reserves, like how much should we hold now. So a lot of present value type of concepts, the interest environment, how that impacts our business. So studying the external kind of like financial markets, internal problem solving, computer skills, all of that kind of, and then knowing the insurance business. You probably spend 4 or 5 years kind of getting those basics all together. It can be interesting. It's not, it starts off more back office, but you definitely can get out in the business if you have that right skill set.
And how big a company is the one that?
We are a U.S. company that has about 10,000 employees.
It's a big company.
So about 4,000 or 5,000 are in Maine, in Portland. And the finance area has about 200 employees and about 40 actuaries and about 40 actuarial students. So every year, the one good thing about the actuaries, every insurance company needs actuaries. They can't really run their business without it. They need certifications, and you need to have a certain mass of them. So there's always kind of a pipeline going into. Even when we're not recruiting for anything else, we hire two or three actuaries a year. 2 or 3 in Portland. We have another location in Chattanooga, Tennessee. A couple of there, one in Columbia, South Carolina. So there's always kind of an inflow. So that's kind of nice.
Are there many women going into the field?
Yeah, I would say it's about 50-50. It was much less when I started into it, but I think it's definitely. It's interesting. We just got the Wall Street Journal just did a ranking of the top professions based on like work conditions and stress level, and actuaries actually got the #1 spot for 2010, which is like,
well, there you go.
This is kind of cool.
Now you feel a lot less stressed, right? Now.
But it is. It's stressful taking the exams, but as a whole, you look at every career in business. There's a certain amount of stress, but I think for me personally, I have 3 children, pretty active in the community, so it's been a great balance. It's not like one of those you're working 70 hours a week. It really is, 50 hours a week.
And you can leave it there.
I can leave it there, and it's great. It's been good for me in that respect. When I first got out of college, I worked part-time. I was able to work 3 days a week, which was, so I think you have a little bit of
flexibility.
Yeah, if you pass your exams and they need actuaries, then you have a little bit of flexibility in negotiating for a work situation that works for you. So I'm lucky.
Do you have a lot of, maybe you already said this.
No, that's fine.
Do you have a lot of on-the-job training so that?
Yep. Yes, we train our actuals. Well, you have to take exams. So you take these 5 to 7 actuarial exams. It takes 5 to 7 years. So while you're working and getting paid, you take twice a year, like a 3 or 4 hour exam, and people put in 300-400. So when you say now I have a balance, when I was those first 4 or 5 years that I got out of college, you're studying and working, and it's a pretty big commitment. And to stay in the program, you need to pass a certain at a certain clip. So that's, I think, the hardest part of it. It's just kind of getting over that hurdle. And, the first one's on prob and stats, and then it gets into more insurance types of exams. And then later on it gets into more written exams where they'll say, you're the CEO of a company, here's a business problem.
Narrative.
Yeah, write the case study out in the exam on how you'd solve this based on thousands of pages of material that you're prepared for. So I think that's training in actually being an actuary, but we also have like a leadership training that we do for all our actuarial students where public speaking, how to give a presentation, how to interact with other people at the company, because we're really shying away from just the pure back office technical that doesn't interact. It's just with the economy the way it is, or just business how it is, everyone has to kind of contribute across the board and show leadership skills and be able to communicate. One of the big things is like communicating complex concepts in a fairly simplistic way. So that's one of the key things to get people over. Like, people don't care about all those details. What's the bottom line? How does it impact them? So that's one of the skills we try to teach. Any other questions? No, thank you. You're welcome.